Ladies and gentlemen, let us turn our collective gaze toward the precipice upon which the Women's National Basketball Association currently teeters. We are approaching a moment of singular consequence, a narrative convergence scheduled for this coming Monday in New York City that will essentially determine the immediate viability of professional women's basketball in this country. We are witnessing the 11th hour, the final desperate stanza of a negotiation that has, quite frankly, devolved into a spectacle of misaligned expectations and perilous brinksmanship. The gravity of this scheduled sit-down cannot be overstated. We are looking at a scenario where the league leadership, led by Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, along with the team owners, will finally convene in the same room as the players' representatives. This is it. To put it in the starkest possible terms, this is the last genuine opportunity to salvage a deal before the machinery of the league grinds to a catastrophic halt. If there is no agreement forged in the crucible of this meeting, if the two sides cannot bridge the chasm that currently divides them, we are staring down the barrel of a lockout or a strike. It matters little which terminology one chooses to employ. The result is a cessation of labor, a silence on the courts, and a monumental failure of governance. Consider the logistics and the drama leading into this high-stakes encounter. We have the vice president of the WNBA Players Association, Kelsey Plum, along with Nafisa Collier, traveling directly from Miami, where they have been competing in the unrivaled league, to New York City. They are flying into the storm immediately following their own competition on Sunday night. Joining them will be Union President Nneka Ogwumike, standing shoulder to shoulder with the executive committee. The source material surrounding this event indicates a palpable tension, a realization that the time for posturing has effectively expired. Yet, as we analyze the statements coming from the union leadership, one must wonder if the gravity of the situation has truly permeated their strategic thinking. Kelsey Plum, speaking to reporters, expressed a sentiment of excitement, stating she feels extremely excited for the opportunity to be there in person. She speaks of the league making a commitment to be there, emphasizing that meeting face-to-face is the most important thing. While one can appreciate the diplomacy in her words, we must look past the pleasantries and confront the brutal economic reality that awaits them in that boardroom. The sentiment that they, hopefully, will have something is, to be blunt, insufficient. The admonition here must be severe. Do not enter that room playing games. The time for performative negotiation has passed. The fundamental disconnect lies in the union's previous proposals, specifically the document submitted at the end of December, a proposal so detached from the fiscal realities of the business that the league reportedly did not even deign to respond for over 4 weeks. We must dissect why this silence occurred. According to sources with direct knowledge of the league's thinking, the contents of that proposal simply did not warrant a response. When one side is operating in the realm of tangible economics and the other is drafting wish lists based on theoretical valuations, dialogue becomes impossible. The union presented a salary cap of $10.5 million and demanded a 30% share of total league revenue. Let us pause and reflect on those figures. A $10.5 million salary cap. In a vacuum, it sounds ambitious. In the context of the WNBA's historical financials, the league views this not merely as ambitious, but as a roadmap to insolvency. The league's reluctance to engage with such a figure is tied directly to their internal projections, which suggest that capitulating to these demands would plunge the owners into a hole nearly $700 million deep. One must ask the players, is it your intention to bankrupt the very entity that signs your checks? Do you truly expect business owners to sign off on a $750 million loss simply to appease a sense of entitlement? Conversely, look at what has been placed on the table by the WNBA. The league's latest proposal includes a revenue-sharing model, equating to roughly 15% of league revenue. But more importantly, it fundamentally restructures the salary hierarchy. We are talking about lifting the maximum base salary from a modest $250,000 to a staggering $1 million. When incentives and revenue sharing are factored in, that figure could climb to $1.3 million. This represents an increase of $750,000 in base pay alone. This is where the narrative becomes incredibly frustrating for the objective observer. The money is there. The owners have moved. They have presented a path where the average league salary under their model would exceed $530,000. Yet the union's proposal seeks an average of over $800,000. While negotiation always involves a meeting in the middle, one must question the wisdom of rejecting a nearly 400% increase in the maximum salary in favor of a proposal that the league believes is financially ruinous. To go into Monday's meeting reiterating these same rejected talking points would be a tactical error of the highest order. If the players walk into that room with the same rhetoric, the same demands for a $10.5 million cap, and the same insistence on percentages that the business cannot sustain, they are essentially inviting the owners to move on without them. And make no mistake, the league is prepared to move on. We are witnessing a classic case of overplayed hands. The players, particularly the veteran leadership, seem to be laboring under the delusion that they are the sole engine driving this sudden surge in interest. We hear quotes from Natasha Cloud, who stated with characteristic aggression, "We will not fucking move until y'all move." She went on to characterize the league's stance as the worst business decision, claiming that, without us, there is no W season. With all due respect to Ms. Cloud and to Ms. Agumake, and even to the talented Ms. Plum, this assertion is demonstrably false. It represents a profound misunderstanding of the current zeitgeist. The business does not go because of Natasha Cloud. It does not surge because of the veteran establishment. The tectonic shift we are witnessing, the influx of revenue and attention, is attributable almost entirely to the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. It is the arrival of Clark, alongside Angel Reese, Cameron Brink, and the incoming class of rookies, that has fundamentally altered the landscape. This is the uncomfortable truth that the union seems unwilling to acknowledge. If the veterans decide to strike, if they decide to hold the season hostage in pursuit of a $10.5 million cap that does not exist in reality, the league has a nuclear option. They can proceed with the rookies. They can fill the rosters with replacement players. And here is the harsh reality. The viewership numbers would likely remain robust. The audience is tuning in to see Caitlin Clark destroy the competition. They are tuning in to see the new generation. They are not tuning in to watch the complexities of a collective bargaining dispute played out by veterans who feel underappreciated. If the players truly believe they have the leverage to force the owners into a $700 million deficit, they are misreading the room. The owners know exactly where the value lies. They know that the spotlight is shining on the rookies. The idea that the league would crumble without the current veteran core is a gamble I would not advise them to take. The fans will click on their televisions to watch the replacement players and the rookies because the star power, the true needle-moving star power, resides largely within that younger demographic. The frustration expressed by Natasha Cloud, who claims to be disgusted with the league's handling of negotiations and alleges a failure to even move the needle, rings hollow when placed against the backdrop of a $1 million salary offer. To characterize an offer that quadruples the max salary as failing to move the needle is intellectually dishonest. It betrays a sense of personal grievance that has overtaken professional judgment. Cloud warns that the pressure is on Kathy Engelbert and Adam Silver, but in reality, the pressure is squarely on the union to demonstrate that they are capable of recognizing a victory when it is staring them in the face. We are currently in a state of paralysis. The January 9th deadline came and went. The CBA expired, was extended, and expired again. We are now in a moratorium period where free agency has been frozen. The season is scheduled to tip off on May 8th, but sources are becoming increasingly skeptical that this date will hold. The calendar is turning into February, and we are still arguing over foundational numbers. Monday's meeting is the litmus test. It will indicate whether the 30th season of the WNBA begins on time or whether it becomes a casualty of hubris. Kelsey Plum noted that everyone understands what's at stake timeline-wise. One certainly hopes so, but understanding the timeline is different from understanding the leverage. The league has made significant movement regarding compensation and revenue sharing. A source familiar with the league's thinking confirms that they believe they have put a transformative offer on the table. Their reluctance to engage further is not born of malice, but of simple arithmetic. They cannot agree to losses of the magnitude the union is requesting. The players need to enter that room in New York City with a spirit of realism. They need to look at the offer, a max salary jumping from $250,000 to $1 million, and realize that this is a win. It may not be the utopian $10.5 million cap they dreamed of, but it is a massive, tangible step forward. To reject this in favor of a strike would be, to borrow Natasha Cloud's own phrasing, the actual worst business decision. The rhetoric needs to shift. Instead of trying to strong-arm billionaires who have historically subsidized a league that has never turned a profit, the union should be locking in these gains. Secure the 15% revenue share. Secure the $1 million salaries. If you want to fight for more, do it in the next cycle, once the league has actually stabilized and proven it can generate the revenue to support those higher caps. But to demand the spoils of a war that hasn't even been fully won yet is a recipe for disaster. The owners are not going to be bullied. They see the landscape. They see the lack of mainstream coverage for the veteran players compared to the tidal wave of interest for Caitlin Clark. They know that ESPN, Fox, and the major sports talk shows, from Stephen A. Smith to The Nightcap with Shannon Sharp, are discussing the WNBA almost exclusively through the prism of Caitlin Clark. The veterans are not moving the needle on the Gilbert Arenas show or with Nick Wright. They are not the topic of conversation. Clark is. And as long as the league has Clark, business will flourish. Therefore, the message to the players heading into Monday is simple. Come correct. Be realistic. Do not walk into that meeting with the same tired tactics and the same inflated proposals that caused the league to go silent for a month. If you go in there demanding a 30% share and a cap that ensures a near billion-dollar loss, you are going to force a lockout. And in that lockout, you may find that the league is far more prepared to move on without you than you are to survive without the league. The status quo is no longer sustainable. The outcome of Monday's meeting will ripple through the history of women's sports. It is the last hope for this deal to get done in time for us to see Caitlin Clark hoist that MVP trophy and potentially a championship. The start of the season is on the line. The livelihoods of the players, especially those who do not have the safety net of massive endorsements, are on the line. It is time to put aside the disgust and the personal shots. It is time to stop pretending that the rat inflatable tactics of union negotiation apply to a business that is finally, after 3 decades, seeing a glimmer of true commercial viability. The money is on the table. It is real money. It is life-changing money for many. To leave it there, to walk away from it in a fit of pique because it isn't the astronomical sum you wrote down on a wish list, would be a tragedy. We will learn a lot from this meeting. We will learn if the WNBPA is interested in securing a historic raise for its members, or if they are interested in making a point that no one can afford. The owners have drawn their line in the sand. They will not dig a $700 million hole. The ball, inextricably, is in the players' court. They better have something new to say. They better have a counterproposal that lives in the real world. Because if they don't, if they choose to play games with the timeline, they might find themselves on the outside looking in, watching replacement players enjoy the spotlight that Caitlin Clark built. The future of the WNBA hangs in the balance this Monday. Let us hope, for the sake of the game, that sanity prevails over ego. The deal must get done. The alternative is a silence that none of us want to hear.